So anyway, I was inspired by their association, and I started chanting. I got beads from them, and I started chanting. Now, this is really funny, and it's true. I thought around, you have these beads, of course, for those who don't know, and there's 108 beads in a oh yeah, thank you. You know, you have 108, oh, these are not mine, these are not my beads, but maybe they're beads. And they have 108 beads. So it wasn't these set. So one round is from there and back, and then another round is back again. But I thought a round was one and back, so I thought a round was 2 rounds. So I started chanting 16 rounds, but actually I started chanting 32 rounds. So I was chanting 32 rounds a day. I'm not trying to make out, hey, I'm chanting 32 rounds, but that's what I was doing because I didn't know. I had nothing else to do. I was just in the house, wasn't I? It was either that or just get intoxicated. So I was in 32 rounds a day, and not always, but most days I would do the 16 rounds, which were 32 rounds. It took me a hell of a long time, and now I realise why these devotees were in the car late at night still chanting. I thought, man, it takes hours. It's like nearly like 5 hours for me, Hare Krishna. But I get such an elation from it. I know that's a kind of material thing. I get such a great feeling from that actually I gave everything up. Just in one day, I said, that's it. I'm not doing. I get rid of all my drug selling paraphernalia, and I get rid of all the things, and I stopped going to the bars, and anybody that phoned me, I said, no, I'm not coming. Everybody's like, what? People phone me up asking me for things. No, I'm no longer. I'm finished. So in one day I gave everything up. And that might seem quite severe because some people think, well, how could you? But I just did, and I never ever tried. And that was me. I finished with it. So for me, it was really, really good. It was a natural thing. I saw within myself how easy it was just to give it up. Now I know in the world people struggle. There's lots of like groups people go to give up alcohol and to give up cigarettes and all these kind of things. There's groups and there's lots of people now sell things to help you give up. But in my mind, it's like the only way to give up is just to give up. But maybe that's just me. So I just one day, boom, and that was it, finished. And I've never had any inclination towards it ever since. And that's a long time ago. So I was chanting all these rounds. Later on, I found out that it was only one round and 16 rounds, and so therefore I was chanting these 16 rounds like what everybody else was doing. But oh yeah, so the festival. I was speaking about the festival in Birmingham, and this is really funny, but I spoke to Gudrun Bihari about it, and what happened was Gudrun Bihari then had said to me, why don't you come like to the festival? And I said, well, I'll go, you just give me the address, you know. So that was like on the Tuesday, and the festival was on like the Sunday or something. So I think it was the Friday morning. I was up in the morning, because I wasn't getting up early or anything like that, you know. Just get up when I get up, whenever you decide to get up out your bed or out your room or whatever. I would get up and I went downstairs, and there's a wee letter, a wee bit of paper saying a time and a date and address of the temple in Leicester. I'd never heard of Leicester, to be honest. It was some miles up the road, but you know, we were quite, like, we stayed in our own wee kind of area. We didn't really travel so much, and you didn't have mobile phone. There was nothing going on like that kind of way, media wise, so you didn't. Leicester, where's Leicester? Somewhere by Larkhall. So you'd heard of Larkhall. So Hamilton, Larkhall, then wee bit Leicester. So I said, oh great, so I can go to the festival and go with the devotees. So Mum gave me a lift. To Leicester, dropped me off, and the bus was there in the village, and it was all full of devotees, and it was prasadam and kirtan, and the festival was fantastic. It was really good. I got my first kind of Krishna conscious t-shirt there, with Parikshit Maharaj on the Vyasasan and the snake bird, and Maharaj like on fire like that. That was my first t-shirt. I just liked I didn't even know what it was about. I just liked the picture, you know. I bought the picture, and Kirtan was great. I liked the whole thing. It was really good. And after that, I was finished. Kind of then after that, I was not interested in anything else. I really wanted to know what it was I was supposed to be, or what it was I was supposed to do, to get me from where I am now to where I'm supposed to go. And that was my only right thing. And I wanted to join a temple because I was sick of the life I was living. And also I thought it'd be an easy way out. I thought, this has got to be easy, I live in a temple, easy, you know, like, you know, food's free, and I had all these ideas in my head. So then after that, of course, there's something that happened. I'll tell you, this is really funny. It's funny. Birmingham. Now at that time, the Birmingham temple was run by a devotee called, he's now called Ashram Maharaj. What was his name then? Big black skin, brilliant devotee. He's now in another mat due to things that went on with him when his spiritual master died. He took like shelter of another mat, and he got sannyas. And Ashram Maharaj is a very, very nice man, very nice devotee, and he was running the whole show in Birmingham then. It was all brahmacharis, so everybody was dressed in saffron. It was all like, and they were all like, you could see they were all like intensely fired up. So we went to Birmingham, and of course I didn't know anybody. I mean, I don't know anybody. I just know a few devotees from Scottish Temple. And we got off and we go in, and there's a whole like, in this hall there's a whole like function room before you go into the hall and for the festival. And I was just really just helping out and hanging around. So I'm standing there, and I was trying to at least look the part. I had like kind of like fawn kind of white trousers, and I had my white t-shirt on, and of course I had a bald head anyway, and my ponytail. And this brahmachari from Birmingham, I don't know his name, but I still know him. I know him. You know, he looked at me from across the room, and he smiled and came right over to me, and he put his arms on me like, says, "Hare Krishna Prabhu, how are you doing?" And then he hit the deck, you know, they down to offer like obeisances. And at that time, everybody did it. The whole room went down. I'd never seen this in my life. So I went down, and they're all muttering something, and they all come up, and then everybody carried on as if nothing had happened. And he went, "It's good to see you," and he walked away. And I'm thinking, good to see me? I didn't know anybody in the room at all. And then later on, I found out that Shivaram Maharaj had a servant then called Abhimanyu, and he's Scottish, and he looks quite like me. And this was, he had kind of, I think at one, I don't know for sure, so you can't really quote me on this for real. I think maybe he'd kind of moved away for some time and then come back to the movement, you know, like kind of like fallen away from that service, and he was doing something else, and now and maybe he hadn't saw him for some time, so he come up to say, "Oh, how are you getting on? You look well," you know, and offering respects like we do to devotees and things. It was only later on I found out from Shivaram Maharaj when he came once to a festival, and he was travelling in his motorhome, and we were then doing with Gadai Garanga, we were doing programs, and we were in Yorkshire, and we were doing book distribution all over North and all over England. And we were running Nam huts, and we had one in Blackpool, and Maharaj came then, and he gave a talk and all that, and it was him that then I found out about this Abhimanyu, because he used to be Maharaj's servant, and he's got a similar accent to me, and he looks a little bit like me, you know. Anyway, that was one thing that happened. That was quite, it was funny. I remember that. It was really funny, especially as a new person when you don't really know anything. You're just standing there, and all of a sudden all these people are on the floor, like lots of people. The whole room kind of went down off of the bases, and I was really embarrassed. I thought, I went down as well, and they're all mumbling something. I don't know what they were saying. I didn't even know Prabhupada's pranams at that point, you know. But they were saying Vaiṣṇava Tribhischa, you know, like. So that was the festival. It was very, very nice. And of course, after that, I would continually go into the Nam huts Tuesday and Wednesday, clockwork, you know. And of course, I was always saying about joining. So this was like maybe in the summer. So I met the devotees maybe just before summer, and this was leading up. I didn't go to any of the festivals at the temple. I wasn't there for. It must have been after Janmashtami, because maybe I would have been asked to come to the temple in Janmashtami, so I never went at that period. So I was going to Nam huts, I know that, and then it was coming up to kind of Christmas time, you know. And Gurdjieff Bihari had been taking me out on a Friday. He'd come to my house in the car, and he would pick me up, and he brought this one of these big, you know, the big stainless steel plates full of prasadam, you know, because at that point I was just eating anything. It was really, really nice. And he had a big tub of burfi, which he would give to the people who were donating fruit and vegetables. And we would go around the markets, and I would come with him, and while he was driving, he would get me to read from the little Prabhupada nectar books They made a bigger one, hardback, but at that time there was little small ones. I think there were 6 of them, little small books like that, all kind of things Prabhupada had said, and I would be reading them to Gurdjieff. Because I thought I was just reading them to Gurdjieff Bihari, but what I'm doing is I'm hearing all these pastimes, because a lot of it I couldn't relate to, because I wasn't like a devotee, I wasn't living a devotee lifestyle as such, so a lot of things Prabhupada is saying, a lot of stuff I was reading I didn't really understand, so I was just reading because he wanted to hear the books, but in effect actually it was the opposite. He'd probably read them before, so he was getting the benefit, but also I was getting like that verse in the Vaiṣṇava, but it's speaking about those who speak, both benefit the speaker and the hearer, so we're all benefiting from that, and the prasadam, and then going round and seeing the wonderful reactions that people were donating things, and the reactions people would get when they took the prasadam, and how they would react to that in response. One time this Muslim man, he saw Gurdjieff Bihari coming, he said, no, I'm not interested, like that, because he knew he was coming to beg, because Gurdjieff is very, very patient. He would just speak to the man like this, and the man said, well, I'm busy, and he was in his shop and all this kind of thing. I'm just standing there, I don't know what to do, I'm just standing like a lost cause, but I'm watching what's going on. The man was definitely not into it, and Gurdjieff Bihari, very patient, speaking to him and kind of just working him round, because the man wasn't rude. He just didn't really want to get involved, and that was his kind of reaction to try and avoid Gurdjieff. Gurdjieff is such a nice person, and the man was such a nice person actually. Eventually he came round, you could see he was kind of like smiling, and eventually Gurdjieff Bihari says, hey, have a bit of burfi. I swear this Muslim man, took a bit of the burfi, and he just lit up. He went, okay, what do you want? And he started pulling things off the shelf, dal and vegetables, and I was sitting going, my God. The power of prasadam, the reciprocation was that he felt, well, of course, Muslim in general, Muslim people are pious people, so they do like to give, that's their thing also, so, but it was just when after he took that first bite of burfi and he put it down, I saw him, he kind of lit up, and I thought, wow, and he gave all this stuff, and we put it in the car, and we went to another shop, and the way back, as we were walking back, he saw us again, and he ran in his shop, because he realised what had happened with the effect, and a lot of times people would say, oh no, they wouldn't take the prasadam, they wouldn't take it, because they knew what happened the last time, they took it, and then they felt they had to receive. It was really funny. And as a young person, who'd never witnessed that kind of it was mystical actually, it was something you'd maybe read in a book, it wasn't really real, so I was seeing it there, if he had filmed it, and show somebody, it'd be something you'd have on what you have on these media things, there'd be short clips. That would be something to show on one of these short clips, the power of prasadam, And I think also, well, this was just my own kind of speculation, I guess. At the time I was thinking, the man's own heart, he was already open anyway to reciprocate. He was just trying to avoid, and when he took the prasadam, and then that kind of, woke up, and it was almost, he was crazy. He gave loads and loads of vegetables and all sorts of stuff. Anyway, so we would do this every Friday, and that was my thing, me and Gurdjieff Bihari. He would pick me up, it was really, really nice. So then, of course, in the course of those talkings, those meetings, I would sometimes go to the temple to drop off the vegetables and fruits. So that was the first time I went to the temple. This first time, Gurdjieff said, I have to go back, the car's too full. We'll go back and we'll go back in again, because there's much more. It was like a festival or something, and needed more vegetables, I don't know. So I said, yeah, okay, So I went to the temple. It was the first time in the temple room. It's all very bizarre, the curtains were closed. We didn't have deities then. It was just a big Panchatattva picture, a big one, and Krishna Bhavan, downstairs before we had the temple up top, and we had these small Gauragadadhar deities. They were small, they were this size, and they were wooden, nice, beautiful. But I didn't know anything about that then. I was just in the temple room, just sitting in, and Gurdjieff says, just wait, I'll get you some prasadam. So I was like, oh, more prasadam, great. So I'm just sitting in this temple room, and I didn't know what to do. At that time, you didn't really start chanting. You didn't have that kind of thought in your head. If you have nothing to do, read a book, chant some japa. I was just sitting there, And Mother Palindri, who I think now is in, I don't know where she is now, but Mother Palindri, she was there. and she came in and she said, "Oh, you want some prasadam?" And I said, "Yeah." She came in with this big plastic Tupperware, the big square one like that, full of kofta. Now, I didn't know what kofta was. I'd never heard it. I was eating cornflakes and chips. I didn't know anything above cornflakes and chips was brilliant for me. So kofta, I'm looking at it thinking, "Oh, what's this?" So she put half this, it was quite a lot, on a plate. Wow, I ate a lot, just ate it all. Tasted so good. So I ate it all. That was my first prasadam at the temple, was kofta. Mother Prinda served me. Really nice, really nice. And of course then after that we went back out and that was a regular thing. So in the course of these kind of exchanges, I was always mentioning about joining the temple, and I think maybe the devotees had passed on to the devotee who was running the ashram at the time, the spiritual master, the teacher that was there, Vallabha Dās. And I got invited to go and speak to him, So he was in his room like this actually. He was just sitting like this with a chud around him like this, and I came in, I was a bit nervous, because I don't know why I was nervous, I just was, he seemed quite like stern and, all mystical to me, he was like the guru, and it was, I thought it meant something, so I went in and sat down, he asked me a few questions and spoke to me, and I said, "Okay, nice to meet you," and I left, and I didn't hear any more about it. And then we had just had a festival down south, and we'd stayed at Emily Moor, which was a house we had in near Huddersfield called Emily Moor, very high up, and we had a house there where devotees stayed and they did Sankirtan in the area. So we'd stayed there after the festival, and Vallabha was there, and we all went back to Kurubhavan that night. So as we were all unpacking, my mum was coming to pick me up. No, I hadn't phoned my mum, that's what it was. I hadn't phoned my mum yet to phone her to come and pick me up from Leicester from the temple. And we're all sitting there in the hallway, and Vallabha Prabhu was sitting in his big seat, and he said to me, "Oh, Ian, how are you getting home?" I said, "Well, my mum's will come and pick me up. I've just got to phone her." And he just turned around and said, "Guru Mahari, go and run him home and get your stuff, and come back and join the temple." So of course I was really like I'm now. I was quite overwhelmed. I thought, "Oh yeah, beauty, yeah, it was brilliant." So immediately I was into it. I didn't know what effect it would have on my family, like my mother. I didn't really know at the time, but it's okay now, but at the time it was a bit strange. I lied to my mum. I said that I was just going for like a week just to stay out the temple, and I never came back, I never come back. I never saw her for like whatever, years and years. But that was okay in a sense. It worked out. Everything worked out okay. So Guru Bihari ran me home, and there was nobody in. So I let myself in, and I had this big kind of army rucksack, big thing that I travelled with, and I filled it all with any clothes I had, which was very limited. And I left all the other possessions, everything else, and I took another pair of shoes. I had 2 pairs of shoes, and that's all I had, a jacket, a small jacket, and they run me back, and that was me in the temple. So that was me. I thought, okay, I'll just try this out. It was tough, it was tough to rise at the same time, early in the morning, and do the things we had to do, go out in the street, try and sell, but it was tough, for me, for the mind. I guess it wasn't so tough, but it was tough for the mind, having to chant japa, and amongst all these people in this small room, they're all really loud, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, and you just couldn't hear anything. All you could hear was, I can't hear, mind just screaming at you for like a long time. It took many years for the mind to quiet down, and also all the things that I'd been involved in the material life, they were all swirling around, all those impressions, it took a long time for them to get put in the background so they weren't so prominent, and then the mantra to become more prominent. So it was just a kind of ongoing process. But my experience in the temple was fantastic. I travelled to Vrindavan in 1996 because we had a big, not a battle, but we had a book distribution battle to say. I was in the motorhome with Guru Bihari, and we were on a travelling party, and it was very, very nice. Guru Bihari he's a saint. And then they had the other travelling party, which was led by Gadai Garanga, and there was a few other devotees, Daru Brahman, and I don't know who else was with him. Was Radhika Nagra there? Maybe Ramananda. I can't remember. This is 1990. This was 1995 Christmas marathon. So I'd only been in temple a few years, but I liked doing book distribution. I was quite good at it. I just liked being on the street at the time, in the early days. So I couldn't give out enough books, because I just couldn't give out enough books for the amount of Lakshmi that was, Lakshmi meaning money, you know, Lakshmi, for the amount of money that was coming in. The more books I tried to give out, the more money people would give me. And at the end of the day, when I counted the Lakshmi up and counted the amount of books